Hey guys, Pat from Team FYB here. I'm here to present to you my Abyss Actor deck profile, updated for the June 2023 ban list. Let's get right into it. So the Abyss Actor profile I'm about to show you is a blind second list in the main deck. Simply because I think it's really Abyss Actors just have this sort of ability to just keep playing through interruptions, especially after board breakers have kicked in, and then just OTK the opponent straight up from there. However, it has a side deck that is designed for going first if you're not comfortable going second against any specific matchups. So I think the deck's quite flexible. I think it's poised to be pretty good in this format. The list is heavily inspired by the top 32 at the Ireland Nationals. So some of you may have seen it before, but these are some of the takes that I have employed to the deck for the new 2023 ban list, as I think that list was running Gamma. We'll start things off. We run free Abyss Actor Wild Hope. Instant free of, when this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, it just searches any Abyss Actor card. You have multiple ways of destroying this card. And its scale effect does sometimes come up. It makes the other scale a 9, which gives you access to all of your Abyss Actors as they range from level 1 to level 7. You run free of this card as an instant. On top of that, we run free Mellow Madonna. Mellow Madonna herself gets the entire engine sort of rolling. Her scale effect is pay 1,000 life to search any Abyss Actor. So you always want to have her available, whether it is in your opening hand or whether you place it off of your Link monster. Her monster effect does sometimes come up. It's the effect to, when you activate Abyss Script, it specials a level 4 Abyss Actor from your deck. Sometimes that comes up to just push for more bodies on board. And her being a level 7 does come up in certain extra deck plays. Definite free of for sure. Next up, we'll put these two in the same. Free extras and free Curtain Raiser and free extras. These guys are just your starters, especially for going second. Extras is if you place him in scale, he can special summon himself out of scale if your opponent controls a monster. Since you're always going second, extras will always be live, unless you're going up against like Labyrinth or something. But more on that later. Curtain Raiser here is usually what's... Curtain Raiser also has a very similar effect. When it's placed in scale, it special summons itself out. If you control no monsters, this is a once per duel, however. But basically, these two sort of loop each other out, and extras, when he's in the monster zone, he tributes himself to place Abyss Actor in scale, usually putting Curtain Raiser. Curtain Raiser comes out, and then he can send an Abyss Script as cost to add a face-up Abyss Actor from your extra deck to your hand. Usually it's just the extras that you attributed. So these sort of loop into each other and they sort of start your plays and help you get a free body without using your normal summon. So perfect for going second. Next up are some 2-ofs. We got 2 Superstar and 2 Comic Relief. Comic Relief is mostly here as a high scale, the 8 scale, a good high scale. He does have the effect in scale to swap control of a monster you control with an opponent's. It has come up often. I've done it against El Shaddai Winda, which was really funny. But yeah, it does come up to swap. It does have a monster effect to give it to your opponent, and then it pops a spell trap, which is important for the Abyss Scripts. But mostly he's there for the high scale. But of course, the real superstar of the deck is named Superstar for a reason. This Abyss Actor, when it's summoned, it prevents any spells and traps from being activated on its summon, so you are not going to lose to stuff like Solemn Judgment or Torrential Tribute. Very funny card. Additionally, it also places an Abyss Script directly from the deck, and so this plays around Ash and any Abyss Script. And it's also a soft once per turn, so if you have multiple superstars, it gets you there. Overall, though, he is pretty big as well, so it's good for just pushing damage. And yeah. Next up are some 1-ofs. 1 Sassy Rookie, 1 Evil Heel, and 1 Funky Comedian. And this rounds out the rest of the Abyss Actor monsters. Sassy Rookie is usually a combo piece for going first, as he actually, when he's in the scale, he can destroy himself to prevent your your Abyss Actor monsters from being destroyed. So it protects you from stuff like Dark Hole, Raigeki. Other than that, though, it does have it is a hard body to kill, since whilst it's in the monster zone, it can't be destroyed by battle or card effect once. So it is a hard cookie to kill, and even if you do kill it, it specials an Abyss Actor from deck, so pretty good. Evil Heal is good for pushing for damage. Minuses 1,000 attack for every Abyss Actor you control, like on one monster your opponent controls. He's also a free K beat stick. And Funky Comedian, he gains attack when he's normal or special summon, 300 for every Abyss Actor you control at the time. So he's just good for pushing extra damage, getting those extra numbers. You really want to be ending the game on turn 2 in this deck, that's for sure. That's it for the Abyss Actor monsters. It's a pretty big engine, but luckily the Abyss Actors themselves are, well, they're pendulum decks, so you can easily just pendulum summon a bunch of them, and between extras and Curtain Raiser, you get a lot of free specials. Moving on to spells, we'll talk about the Pot of Greed. Abyss Actor Dress Rehearsal, it's basically Pot of Greed. You have to activate at the start of main phase 1, and it searches an Abyss script and an Abyss Actor Pendulum monster. Searches basically the entire archetype. Your opponent, this is also like pretty, this card is huge ash bait, however. I mean, most people will be ashing this. In the previous ban list, we had Gamma to help circumvent this problem. But without Gamma, this card becomes a lot more vulnerable. However, if this goes through, it's Pot of Greed. So, at worst, you're trading an opponent's Ash Blossom for your future plays. At best, it's a Pot of Greed. Moving on, though, we got the Abyss scripts. These are the ones that are settable off of Superstar and searchable off of Dress Rehearsal. We got 2 Rise of the Abyss King, 1 Tainment, and 1 Dramatic Story. We run 2 Rise of the Abyss King just to help us break boards. It's essentially a Raigeki. It targets cards on the. It's like a Raigeki and a heavy Harpy's Feather Duster in one, but it only pops cards up to the number of Abyss Actors you control. What's great about this card though is it's a spell speed 4 if you control a level 7 Abyss Actor. So if you control Superstar, if you control Evil Heal. So this becomes just unreactable. It's not once per turn either, so if you have multiple of these, just absolutely annihilates board states. As all the Abyss scripts do, they do all have an effect when they're popped by spell traps. When they're popped by the opponent, sorry. If this is popped by the opponent, it will search 2 Abyss Actors in your deck. So sometimes that effect rarely comes up, but it's good for grind games, especially. Abyss Tainment, you're usually setting this off of Superstar just to help you loop your Abyss scripts. What it does is it tributes an Abyss Actor to grab a script that's in your graveyard and set it to your field. This can be done twice per turn. This is pretty good for just looping Rise of the Abyss King if you need to clear the board multiple times. And it does have a very insane effect when it is popped by an opponent's card and where it summons as many Abyss Actors from your deck as possible. I've never seen it come up. Obviously there are combos in Abyss Actor which force your opponent to pop it, but I'd rather them pop this card instead, Dramatic Story. And Dramatic Story is when you activate it, it just targets an Abyss Actor. You special any Abyss Actor from your deck with a different name, and you either destroy the Abyss Actor that you targeted or put it in your zone. This is just good for getting out specifically Evil Heal, because he is a level 8, so he is hard to pen summon out without Wild Hope. Also just gives you whatever you're missing, right? This plus Wild Hope is like a +2, so it gets you there pretty fast. And the other effect though, when it gets popped by an opponent's card, it targets 2 cards in the field and returns them to the hand. That comes up a lot, especially if you're going first. This is just a really good interruption against your opponent. That rounds off the Abyss scripts. The last one we play, of course, is not an Abyss script, but it's the field spell. In older Abyss Actor builds, you had to max out on this, but now we only run 1 because the Link Monster, for Photon Hypernova, places this directly from your deck. What it does is that if you have an Abyss Actor Pendulum and a script in your hand, it searches a new script of a different name. That's a good effect, of course, but the second effect, where the first monster effect your opponent activates on either turn, is changed to destroy 1 set card your opponent controls, provided you control a Pendulum summoned Abyss Actor. This is our way to play around the Biru, and this is our way to interrupt our opponent. Great for going first, great for going second. Nice field spell. Can be bricky, but That's why we only run the 1. And last but not least, a bunch of cards to help us go second. So the Abyss Actor engine takes up a huge portion of the deck, but to help it get its OTK, we have a bunch of going second cards, and I've opted to play just a bunch of board breakers. So we have 1 Prankratops, the free Lava Golem, and the free Super Poly, along with the free Kurakara. These are just the best board breakers in the meta, I think. Kurakara and Lava Golem still pretty strong against Kashtira in certain matchups. Prankratops just good against backrow decks and just a generically good card to summon when you're blinding second. And Super Poly, obviously very good against specific matchups. But if the ban list is to indicate anything, Branded might become very popular. So this card does a lot to check that. And last but not least, we still run the free draw Muckbird as the only hand trap in the deck. I think it's still really good. There are still super heavy players that will play their 1-card combo, although it's not as strong. If it goes uninterrupted, it still ends on Appo for free 2 negates. So I still feel like you need to play draw this format, and it's still decent against other decks that survive the ban list, such as Runic, such as Sprite. So I still think draw is still in the meta, at least as the only hand trap in the going second version of this build. We'll go over the extra deck now. Not exactly very spicy. We do have the 2 Hyper Director and 2 Super Producer. The Link 1, the Link 2. The Link 1 lets us summon any of our scales out of the Pendulum Zone and then replace it with a new scale. This is part of the combo when you're going first or going second, just to help you gain advantage. And being a Link 1 means every normal summon you do in your deck is threatening. So just normal summoning in your deck can force your opponent to use interactions and get you to that point where you can break their board. And then of course this summoning the Pendulum Scale out automatically gives you material for the Link 2. It's a quick effect to pop a face-up card you control to either place the field spell or place a new Abyss Actor Pendulum Scale. The field spell helps us play around Nibiru, or the new scale just helps us push through and get more resources. So both are amazing. So you run 2 of each. Sometimes I could argue running 3 of each, but with no cash around, with no Diablosis around, sorry. You may not need the extra copies to survive that matchup. Following that, we do have Beyond the Pendulum here. This is for going first, as this has a very cool combo which lets you go to an Odd Eyes line, which we'll show later. We run the 1. Next up, we just run some generic good Link monsters: IP Masquerena, Nightmare Unicorn, Appaloosa, and Underworld. I have Underworld here just to respect any towers-based decks, as aside from our Lava Golems and our Kurakaras, sometimes we just need the out. We're a Pendulum deck, so getting 4 monsters out is pretty easy under Underworld Goddess. And these 3 are just generically good monsters. Appaloosa is the one we probably summon the most when we're going first. Nothing too spicy there. Following this, I spoke about it a bit earlier, we do have Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon and Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. When you're Link climbing to Appaloosa going first, you'll make the Absolute Dragon using Mellow Madonna and Superstar, and then when it gets linked off, you summon Vortex Dragon, who's just an Omni. So, good to have when you're going first, and obviously not many people expect Vortex to come out, as this card hasn't been pretty relevant for ages, so he comes out every now and then. Last but not least, Super Poly targets. We run 4. Garura, Mud Dragon, self-explanatory. Dragocepelia for branded matchups. And Starving Venom against Stark matchups. Or just to summon on our battle phase just to get in extra damage. I guess we'll go over the side. The side of the deck's a bit strange, as going first, you will actually side in free Ash, free Veiler, and Opening Ceremony most of the time. The idea behind this is when you're going first, the only Abyss script you want popped by your opponent is the Opening Ceremony. When this card is popped, it will draw until you have 5 cards in hand. So you're using the field spell to force the pop on the Opening Ceremony. You want to draw into hand traps. So you want to draw that Ash, you want to draw that Veiler, you want to draw that draw. so that you can, on top of your very sticky Abyss Actor board that's hard to kill, you have hand traps to help slow down their plays. On top of that, on top of the hand traps, you also do run floodgates in the form of free skill drain and 2 Gozen. Gozen doesn't harm you at all, you're all dark. And skill drain, Abyss Actors mostly have the only Abyss Actor effect that's really relevant for skill drain is Superstar, but Superstar just becomes a 2500 beater, and in a simplified game state, that's all you really need. Yeah, these are just good for the meta. I think Gozen match will be really good against Cash coming into the next format, and skill drain is just good for any matchup. And last but not least, we have to respect back row. This deck does suffer from decks like Labyrinth that set up floodgates, so we do need to run free Cosmic Cyclone. We also have the Pank in the extra to help pop any other floodgates. So this could be stuff like Lightning Storm or even evenly matched. It's all to personal preference. I just don't like evenly matched because I want to kill my opponent that turn. So, and I think that is it for the deck profile. I think we'll just move on to some basic going first combos then. Yeah, right. So we'll start off with this combo. This combo involves Abyss Actor extras. We're going to assume that we're going first. But going second, this one card combo does not use your normal summon, so you may get a bit extra based on the other cards in hand. But assuming we're going first and we don't have our opponent does not have any monsters for us to abuse extras effect, we're just going to start off by normal summon extras. From here, we'll use its effect to tribute itself for cost, put itself in Pendulum, put itself in extra deck, to place an Abyss Actor in scale. We're just going to be placing Curtain Raiser. We use Curtain Raisers once per duel effect. Since I control no monsters, I can special them out from the scale here. From here, we're going to just use Curtain Raiser's effect. We send for costs an Abyss script. In this case, we are going to send for cost. At this point, it actually does not truly matter, but if we're going first, say we're going second in an innocuous game state, we'll send just the dramatic story, and that will add the extras back to our hand right here. From here, we can then link off the Curtain Raiser for our first link 1 for the Hyper Director. From here, we then use we activate extras in scale, and we'll use the Director's effect targeting the extras, pulls it out of the scale, and places a new one. We will always be placing 9 times out of 10 Mellow Madonna. Just clean up here. Yeah. So then we use we can then link these two off immediately for our next link 2, which will be Super Producer. From here, we've done all the link summoning that we can, so we will use Mellow Madonna's effect to pay 1,000 life to add any Abyss Actor card from our deck to our hand, but we are now locked into Abyss Actor Pendulums for the rest of the turn. So we will add Wild Hope, and we will scale the Wild Hope. From here, we'll then use Super Producer's effect to pop the Wild Hope to set a new scale. In this case, we are going to set just a high scale, so Comic Relief will do just finely. And from here, we then trigger the Wild Hope effect, since it was destroyed by a card effect, to search any Abyss Actor. We are going to search the star of the show, of course, Abyss Actor Superstar. From here, we then can perform a Pendulum summon. We have a scale of 0 to 8, so we can summon pretty much anything that we have in our extra deck, as well as our hand. In this case, though, we're going to just summon 2 of the 4s here, and Superstar. From here, we have a lot of things we can do. We'll go Superstar effect to place from deck an Abyss script. In this case, we would like to place the Abyss-tainment right here. And we can then activate it here. And we do want to get some Abyss scripts in our graveyard for us to aim for the Curtain Raiser, for us to aim for the Attainment. So we use Curtain Raiser's effect again, since it's a soft once per turn. We will send through the graveyard an Opening Ceremony to add the extras back to our hand. From here, we can then use Tainment's effect. We'll tribute the Curtain Raiser to set the opening, to set the dramatic story here, actually. get a little bit of extra juice going. And from here, there's actually a couple options we can do. We can either leave the dramatic story here as a part of our end board, or we can go for we either set the dramatic story here and proceed to our end phase, or if we were going first and we had cited in the opening ceremony, we would set that instead. But let's say we end on a board just like this, and we pass it to our opponent. So on our opponent's turn, we have a couple things that we can do. Super Producer here during the main phase will let us pop our face-up cards to place the field spell. So when we see that our opponent has activated a monster effect, we can chain to that Super Producer to pop the Wild Hope in order to activate directly from the deck a copy of the Abyss Playhouse. And then, now that the Playhouse is live on field on the resolution of the chain, the monster effect on the monster effect of the opponent that's most recent on the chain will then be changed to pop a set spell trap. So it will pop our dramatic story here, and our dramatic story, when popped, will bounce 2 cards on their field back to their hand. Of course, however, we can also trigger the Wild Hope here to grab an Abyss Actor for next turn. We can grab pretty much anything we want. Personally, though, I like grabbing a copy of Superstar just to really push for a powerful game state here. And from here, just a matter of what the other 4 cards in your hand were and maintaining that if you were going first, or if you were going second, and you are playing this board after trying to break the board before, then you're just trying to gain advantage and kill them the next turn. So that's the most basic Abyss Actor combo off of just extras. Of course, extras could be anything else. Any way to get to extras, such as obviously the Pot of Greed spell, or even just Curtain Raiser Raw without the extras, can get you there as well. Additionally, any way of searching the extras halfway through, such as popping the Wild Hope with the effect of Dramatic Story, gets you variations of this combo. Wow. Alright, last combo for today. This one is the Nuts going first combo. So it's a 3-card combo. Granted, you run 3 of every one of these. So it is likely you find this. But in the scenario where you're going first and you have these 3 cards, you could pull off the much more powerful going first board. So starting off, you always start with Abyss Actor's Dress Rehearsal, which grabs us the Dramatic Story and the Abyss Actor Wild Hope. From here, you get the free summon off of Curtain Raiser by putting him in the scale and then specialing him out as a once per duel. Here, you then normal summon Wild Hope and activate Dramatic Story. From here, it targets the Wild Hope, and you can special summon a Superstar from the deck by popping Wild Hope. From here, you go the effect of the Wild Hope, which will search us any Abyss Actor monster. In this case, we will search out a copy of... we'll search out the copy of Comic Relief here. We can then use the Superstar effect, which lets us set an Abyss script directly from the deck. So we will set to the field a copy of Abyss script, Abyss-tainment, and we'll leave it set there for now. From here, we can then use Curtain Raiser's effect here. We will send Abyss script from our deck to the graveyard. We just send the one that we have multiple copies of. We'll send a Rise of the Abyss King to grab the Wild Hope and put him back to the hand. From here then, we can then link these 2 off into Beyond the Pendulum. We'll pay the 1200 life for Beyond the Pendulum to search any Pendulum monster, so we will grab ourselves a copy of Sass. So once we summon Beyond the Pendulum here, we'll need to trigger a Pendulum summon here to turn on all our effects. We're going to scale Wild Hope here and Comic Relief. And we will perform Pendulum Summon of all the 4. So we 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now that our effects are live again, we can do some, well, climbing, I suppose. we'll go Superstar Effect before we do anything here to set an Abyss script directly from the deck. In this case, we can set ourselves a copy of Opening Ceremony. From here, we can now actually activate Abyss Tainment, and that will trigger the Mellow Madonna's effect to summon a level 4 from the deck. Really doesn't matter, but we'll for the sake of the video, we will just summon a copy of Wild Hope. From here, we then overlay 2 7s, since we're not locked into anything right now, into a Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. And then from here, we can then do some links. So we'll link off the Beyond the Pendulum, the Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon, and the Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser in order to summon a copy of Appaloosa. The Appaloosa, you can trigger the Absolute Dragon's effect here to summon any Odd Eyes Pendulum monster from Odd Eyes monster from your extra deck. So that summons the Vortex Dragon. You have a negate. Congratulations. From here, you can then start doing actual Abyss Actor plays. We will link this one off into a Hyper Director. From here, we can use the effect to special the Wild Hope and scale, and place down the Mellow Madonna. And then from here, we can then link these two off for a copy of Super Producer right here. We use the Super Producer's effect here to pop the Comic Relief in order to activate the field spell directly from there. And from here, your end board looks like this. You can of course, get the search for this, so we can search for a follow-up for next turn by paying 1,000. Search ourselves a Wild Hope. And from here, this is how your end board ends. From here, what you can see, we have an Appaloosa for free negates, Omni Negate with Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon with fodder in the extra deck to do so. And the first monster effect our opponent activates will trigger and pop our set back row. In this case, will be the Opening Ceremony, in which case we will draw up to 5, and draw until we have 5 cards in hand. So hopefully, in this case, since you sided in Ashes and Veilers and you kept your draws, you'll be able to draw into hand traps on top of this board right here. So that was just my Abyss Actor deck profile for June 2023. Blind second, of course, but I did give you a side deck if you wanted to go first with it. I think the deck is poised to be a pretty powerful rogue deck option for the upcoming meta, with board breakers such as Lava Golem, Kurakara, and Super Poly, as well as the ability to OTK with the Abyss Actors. One thing, of course, to keep in mind, it's rogue, so it does have problems. It does lose to a lot of hand traps if it is going first. And of course, if you are blinding second into certain matchups, some matchups just might be unwinnable with your board breaker lineup. But you prepare your deck for what you have at your locals, and I assure you, you will find some success going second, catching your opponents completely off guard. And with that, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Watch out for some more vids from me where I might be discussing the upcoming meta. Have a good one.